exacerbating that traffic situation as well. This is not the time for you to speed on the road. This is not the time for you to test your driving skills and how you can manipulate on the road. This is not the time for road rage. This is the time for you to be careful. Make sure that your car is in the right condition so that in the events that you're overwhelmed by the rain, you're able to properly navigate that situation. All right. So we need to be extra careful as we drive through Lagos. And for those of you who have to leave home early, please make sure that you take care of yourself. Don't expose yourself to the rains too much so you don't become susceptible to illnesses or you just become inactive throughout the course of the day. So plan yourself properly. The rains have become rather unpredictable. And as I said, for early risers like myself, it can be uncomfortable, but do the best you can to be as productive as you can regardless. Well, it just reminds us of our shared experience anyways. For those of you who have cars and for those of us who walk with our legs, regardless, the rain would affect us one way or the other. There would always be challenges of commuting. But this is still trends in the papers on Milan 98.3 FM. We're going to delve deeply into today's newspapers. We'll shine a light on the key stories that we have, political development, economic updates. We sometimes even look at the metro segment of the newspapers. And of course, we would most definitely like to hear from you, your thoughts, your opinions on the matters that we raise, especially as we navigate through some of the jaw-dropping realities that are presented on the front pages of our daily. So when we eventually announce the phone lines, because we will do that on our next segment. For now, we're just looking at the papers. But when we eventually announce the numbers, do well to call in and tell us what your thoughts are regarding the stories that we are going to review on the front pages of our dailies. It's time now to look through the papers. Fᴜʟʟ is joining me via the phone as always, so we can see what the editors have in store for us. Good morning, Fᴜʟʟ. How are you doing today?
Good morning, Sage. I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm well. The rain, the rain is, it's becoming a problem. I know the rains are supposed to be good. I mean, farmers love it when it rains. It's necessary. But then it's just, it rained so much yesterday. I was drenched when I got home. I was trying to stay somewhere for a bit, but then when I saw at past 8, almost 9 p.m., it wasn't stopping. I just decided to put my mind together and enter into the rain. And for those who use public transportation, you know how uncomfortable it can be. The prices went up a little bit. They started charging some a little extra 300, 500 naira there, here and there. It was very, very unpleasant, but it is what it is.
I think it was serious traffic.
Yes.
In our axis yesterday, I saw me posting. I think.
Where's the regular customer?
I think it'll do good to have serious complaints leaving the office. I think I was lucky a bit to have left early. Because again, I think a lot of people complain about staying 1, 2, almost 3 hours in traffic because of, parts of the road that have been flooded. These things are going to come. I think we should just brace up.
Well, we wouldn't have to brace up for it if we had just looked at the weather report that NIMET had given us since last year and done something about it. Obviously, it would affect us to an extent, but maybe not to this extent. This is an annual thing. It has become something of a ritual where every time it rains, you should brace up for discomfort. I don't want to have to brace up for discomfort. I want to be able to function normally even when the sky is gray. I mean, it's possible to do that. There are many countries of the world that even when it rains, everything still works. And it's not, I mean, I don't know why.
Not a complete shutdown. Yeah.
Yes, it's not a complete shutdown and people have to spend hours of their life in traffic. The roads are still good. The canals, the water is flowing. There's a proper channel for it. They've done what they're supposed to do. Although we know there are many countries that when the flood hits, it's usually disastrous. But we have been very, very lucky not to be on the list of countries that records a lot of natural disasters. In fact, I would believe, based on the reports that we usually have, that even the flood that we suffer from is not necessarily because we are a country prone to natural disasters. Is our inactions is why we're suffering from the flood. Exactly. A dam is busting, the canal is full or is blocked, there's nowhere for it to pass. That's what.
Or people that need attention, it's not attended to.
Or people are building houses on the waterway, or what do they call rite of passage, or what do they call that? So we're the ones who usually put ourselves in harm's way, and it's ridiculous, honestly, in 2025. And I'm this bitter because I don't like the rain. That's why I'm this bitter about it. But let's move on to other stories for outside. We have the Punch Punch, Guardian, and the Vanguard newspaper. There is an organization that has bought out the front pages of our dailies this morning, but it's still not going to stop us from reviewing as many stories as possible. There are other stories, middle of the newspapers that we can use for conversations today. And let's talk about the people that have visited the president. Let's open the conversation like that, Fuad. The Punch newspaper, Fubara, for one, visited President Tinubu in Lagos. The suspended River State Governor, Siminalayi Fubara, on Tuesday paid a visit to President Bola Tinubu in Lagos. There were photos that were shared, the closed-door discussion that happened between Fubara and the president. There are no specific details about the content of that particular meeting, but we saw pictures. They were shaking hands. They seemed to look very cordial, but you should expect what the reactions have been like, especially with the recent statement credited to Fubara, where he says that the president did something that was good for River State. His decision to declare a state of emergency might have been the best thing to do. And then on the heels of that, we're seeing pictures of Sims Fubara and the president being cozy and cordial, and we're not saying there's anything wrong with that, yes, but then these sequence of occurrences have started to form narratives in the minds of people who initially were very staunch supporters of Sims Fubara. They're saying, they're asking, is this an indication that he has conceded? Is this an indication that we might see is a move from the PDP to the APC? Is this just part of plans to make sure he's being reinstated and the state of emergency is not extended? Fuad, with this series of events, Fubara's recent statement and the most recent visits to the president, do you think that this can be interpreted into anything? And what is your own interpretation?
Well, simple. The interpretation is simple. I think Governor Sims Fubara already gave us an information and probably an insight into what's currently happening between the presidency, or the president, as you may want to put it, and also his political godfather, Jᴏɪṛ. I think somehow they are already finding a way to resolve some of these issues. Because again, Fubara told us, the president did a fantastic thing. He was full of wisdom in the way he intervened in the rivers matter. That rivers could have been thrown into complete anarchy if the president had not intervened. We also saw that, I think it was on Monday, the Minister of the FCT, Sᴏᴜ, spoke like the godfather he has always, he likes to be. When he said, he's my son, I fed him, I gave him clothes. The only thing he did was that he betrayed me by bringing him my enemy. And that, look, a lot of times when people tell me to forgive him, I go back, look at what he has done to me, and I cry, I weep. Yeah. So if you also have a godfather who has got it to the point where he begins to reflect on things like that, probably has got it to the point where people have now told him, look, it just continues to remind me of the old days of Amala politics in Ibadan. This one is, I don't know what they eat in River State. I would have just used whatever they eat, because this is the kind of politics that I think there are people who like this kind of politics. They like this strong men, weak institutions kind of politics. They like the kind of politics where we trample on the rule of law because there are no consequences that will come with it. They like the fact that, look, you must have people who are bigger and larger than life and can, whip people to submission irrespective of what the law says. They think it's good politics. But I think it's bad politics because these are the kinds of politics we play that kept Nigeria where it is today, where nothing seems to be working, if you understand what I'm saying. So for Sims Fubara, I think he now likes to play the politics the way they want him to play. The people who seem stronger, bigger, who has got what it takes to whip him to line, has done that using excessive use of state institutions and power. But it does not change the fact that, look, it is still a trample on the rule of law. Because again, even though we might not eventually see a closure to this case at the Supreme Court the same way it happened during the Jᴏɪṛ era, it still does not change the fact that in the interpretation of a lot of well-meaning Nigerians, lawyers, and legal luminaries, the action of the president is illegal. It's an excessive use of power and abuse of the rule of law. So, but again, I think what we eventually see is a restatement of Governor Sim Subara. It might not be up to 6 months, or it probably will be 6 months, but no extension of the emergency relief state. You can see that the sole administrator, that one has just been busy doing all manner of You probably want to ask yourself, this guy was not even there on the basis of any insecurity. I think in the papers it was said that they had appointed some new permanent secretary, by 11 of them, new permanent secretary. So the guy is just busy, probably doing the bidding of people who put him there, but it's just what it is. This is what we have learned to live with. This again will go down in history, to go into our history book, and become one of the legacies that the leaders of today will be leaving behind when they leave power.
Well, some can also argue that Fubara has just been strategic. The cards were indeed stacked against him. All he really had was the support of the people who voted him and the people who love him. But there's only so much power that they can yield. So I think he weighed his option and picked the lesser of two evil. If he continues to fight back, chances are he might lose that seat permanently. And so he thought, let me just be strategic, let me play the game that they want me to play, retain my position and get my power back to a large extent. So would you necessarily see all of his moves as weakness, or it's just being strategic?
Being strategic, really. Again, when you are in this kind of situation, you have to look at a whole lot of factors. You understand?
Yes.
You check and recheck and decide what you really want to do. You understand? Again, if you listen to us on Political Roundtable on Sunday, we said it very clearly that for those of us that stood with Fubara when all of these things started, we stood with him on the point of principles and conviction. The same way some of us stood with President Bola Ahmed Tinubu when he was governor of Lagos State against the then president, Olusegun Obasanjo, when allocations of Lagos were seized. Yeah, it was well withheld. So it was not because we were politicians or we knew President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. No, as governor then. But it was just on the basis of principles and the need to respect the rule of law.
Right.
So if we stood in Fubara during that crisis, it was on the basis of principles and personal conviction that, look, at this, our democracy, we will not allow it to fail. So, but again, he has to check and recheck. And again, a lot of the guys who were beating drums of war, who were from chesting, saying, oh, something will happen, something will not happen, I probably think that Governor Fubara would have learned his lesson, that a lot of these guys are just mere noise makers. Where is this other man, Asari Dokibo, for example? I've not even heard anything from him. Again, gone silent. And that's a man that will sit down. 70-year-old man, oh.
70. 17. Well, please leave me alone. I don't have time.
Oh my goodness. You don't have quiet. We don't even hear this. Those are the people that are saying Steve, not Steve. So I think teams will now be more strategic to play the game the way they want it to play it now. Again, it's on the history books.
On that list of visitors, we have the PDP Osun State Governor, Ademola Adeleke. He also visited the president. He was there with Davido. Yes, he was there with Davido as well. Also, Chief Adedeji Adeleke was there to visit the president. Again, the content of the discussion has not been made public so far, but they also seem very cozy and very cordial. And insinuations have started flying. Is this everybody jumping on the bandwagon? Is this the heads mentality that is going on? Is this self-preservation? Or is this just to establish that we might be in opposing parties, but I still stand with you, I still support you as the president of the country? So what is this for? Self-preservation, or just trying to establish that I'm not your enemy, regardless of the fact that we're on opposing sides?
Well, it's difficult to say anything for now.
Right.
This is also a developing story. This particular meeting was preceded by Davido, I think, meeting with the president in Abuja with Ghana chief priest and some other guy.
Yeah.
Remember, I think that happened last week. So, it got a lot of us thinking, what's going on? Is Davido inviting the president, for example, to a concert?
Or he wants to go into politics, perhaps.
Homie.
Perhaps.
It's not impossible. Maybe once
If
become a
it becomes a
senator.
local government chairman, I'll be happy. I'll just move to that
I know
local
the video
government
reach past
straight.
local government chairman.
If he wants to be anything, I will just go to any district that they be doing. That's where I'm going because I know it's Faji Galo and.
But you know, it got a lot of us thinking. You know, what could be going on? What's this stress? What's brewing? And now this happened yesterday again. We had the video. His uncle, the governor of Osun State, Adeleke Jackson, Ademola Adeleke Murudi.
Fuad, wait first.
No.
Were you there?
That's his name.
At the naming ceremony. Why are you calling him the entire government's name?
So then you had Davido's father too, who was also president, you know, Adeleke himself. And so we don't know. I really don't want to speculate on this, but a lot has been going on in town as well. The possible defection of Adeleke from the PDP to the APC. It's not impossible, but if it's about politics, about the possible defection of Adeleke, the governor, to APC, why did he go there with Davido? He could have just gone there as a governor who had gone to visit the president. So why go there with Davido and his uncle? It looks more like a family kind of conversation. But if not that Davido is married, I would have thought that maybe Davido was going to have a marriage ceremony and they are going to invite the president. I'm telling you.
I mean,
because why was Davido's father there? Davido himself and the governor.
We'll find out when we know what they talked about.
So, but the speculation out there is that, look, there could be political arrangements that is going to happen in Osun State that may just see Governor Nuruddin Ademola Jackson Adeleke effective to the APC. It's not impossible with our politicians. We've seen no matter of things.
Right.
And I don't think anything should surprise anybody again as to how we play our politics.
Right. Fuad, so when are you going?
So,
see the president.
If there's a need to, if, for example, there's a media palace and they find us worthy enough to question the president, you know that going for that kind of thing.
What, Fuad? What?
Well, I would, on one condition, I wouldn't go as a journalist. I would be told to submit questions before the sure you know that on that level, I would never attend that kind of meeting. I would not. And trust me. Yes, if I'm invited, okay, there's an opportunity to interview the president on nation building issues, but I would not go if I'm conditioned to submit my questions. I would not.
Okay, Figo, let's move on.
So it's only on that basis. It's only on that basis I'm not a politician. I'm not looking for anything. God be the glory. But fine.
8.3 FM, the sound of Lagos. I am Sage Babalola. We're streaming the program live on Facebook and on YouTube. We always stream the program every time we have the capacity to do so. We're live, so join our Facebook stream. For those of you who probably are listening for the first time, if you're in transit and you cannot turn on your transistor radio, maybe on the bus or something, you can watch us on Facebook. You can also watch on YouTube and be a part of the conversation. It also gives you the added advantage of commenting in real time as we go through the stories that the papers have reported. I'm going back to conversations now with Fuad side. Fuad, let's talk about this unfortunate situation of flood. NEMA has deployed teams in 15 high-risk states. Now, the National Emergency Management Agency says it has deployed its officials in 15 high-risk states to further enlighten residents on the impending floods and the need to relocate from flood-prone areas, saying victims of the tragedy in Mokwa, Niger State lived in gully areas and were caught unawares by the recent flooding disaster in the state despite official warnings. Head of press unit at NEMA, Manzo Ezekiel, said the states include Kogi, Imo, Enugu, Adamawa, Taraba, Borno, Zamfara, Katsina, and the Federal Capital Territory, and he lamented that many victims of the May 23 flooding built their residences in gully areas prone to flood. So here's the situation of things. NEMA has started deploying its teams to 15 high-risk states, the ones that I listed to you, and they've also offered a little bit of an explanation to why we see the rising death toll in Niger State. Most of the people that were affected, according to NEMA, built their houses around gully areas despite official warnings, and so they were caught unawares by the rains. As far as I know, Fuad, if you're doing a building construction, there are agencies that are responsible for that. There's the planning that you're supposed to submit. You're supposed to also check, am I in right of way, amongst other things. So these people have built their houses in gully areas for years, maybe some even decades, yes, and nothing was done about it. And until the flood hit and people die, that's when we're getting report that, oh, they died because their houses were in gully areas and the rains hit them unaware. The unaware part is what I'm raising an eyebrow at. What is unaware? We've had weather predictions for months on end. The evacuation plan should have been activated months on end. What are your thoughts about this situation? Obviously, we applaud NEMA for taking action, but what are your thoughts about the build up to this situation and also the comments that have been made by NEMA about why we've seen an escalation of the death toll or flood related deaths in certain parts of the country?
Well, I don't know how this story of unaware has come into the conversation now, because consistently we've been talking about the need for us to get very proactive about these things. The fact that we even have governors having access to ecological funds shows that, of course, there are areas that are prone to some of these avoidable situations like flooding, gully erosions, and what have you. Yesterday, I think in the papers, it was reported that even in Niger State, the government had accessed some funds to take care of this particular situation in Mokwa. I think about $10 million or so, about 2.2 billion naira, was allegedly spent, in 2024 to address this same issue, and now this unfortunate situation still happens. So there's nothing about people not aware or not being aware that these things are going to come. The question is, were we or were they proactive enough to ensure that this unfortunate situation is averted? I think that that's just the problem, really. A lot of these funds that are meant to address some of these issues are never deployed judiciously. Half of those monies probably go into private pockets, and then we have situations where it happens, we start running helter-skelter, everything goes down again, we'll go back to our shell again. Next year we'll be on the same story, talking about flooding, people losing their lives. Because if you notice, at least in the last 3-4 years, it's been a consistent pattern.
Mm-hmm.
There's never been any time during the rainy seasons where people don't lose their properties or lose their lives. So the question is, are we paying attention to these things, or we're just mouthing it, just talking about it for the sake of that is, I said something? You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
NIMET will continue to do his job. NIMET will not help any state to evacuate or create their drainages or build storm drainage systems or help to ensure that dams who collect some of these waters are in good condition. That's not the job of NIMET. The job of NIMET is to forecast and tell you that the rains are coming and that there will be flooding and all of these kinds of things. It is now left for government at all levels, from the federal to the state and even local government level, to activate their proactive response teams, not just to wait for things to evacuate. It's better late than never, actually.
Yes.
And I think the evacuations will start immediately.
Yes.
So it's not about whether it will happen, it's when it will happen. It's going to happen eventually. The rains are coming. Like I told you, it's looking delayed. So it might be that year when the rains will come a bit late. But in June now, we can see that, yes, it's already showing us that, look, I'm going to come heavy. So what is our response to it? Should be the question, and it should be immediate evacuation of people from flood areas. Immediate.
Indeed. Well, NEMA says that some parts of certain states might be completely swept away by the rains if they don't get on top of the situation. This fire brigade approach to things that have to do with human safety is very, very alarming. And we're not blaming NEMA, not at all. We're not blaming NEMA or anything like that. I think that every cadre of government have their faults. The governors also have questions to answer. You have ecological fund. You know that the rains are coming. You were aware. You knew people were living in the gully areas. What did you do? At least up until from last year till now, that dam would have gotten to a particular place so that you can properly channel the water away from people. Right off the top of my head, I can think of ways to minimize, maybe not completely eradicate, casualty figures as a result of flooding. And it's so painful that people who have the resources, who have the information, who have the personnel are unable to do something about it. And the death toll in Mokwa, just this one singular state, over over 200 people, over 3,000 displaced, and some are still even looking for their loved ones. There are people who are missing as well. It's very sad. Let's hope that NEMA is able to get on top of this very, very sad and unfortunate situation. We're moving now to the insecurity in the country. The Punch reports that federal government battles Boko Haram resurgence in Northeast, says Minister. The Minister of Defense, Mohammed Badaru, has revealed that the resurgence of Boko Haram in the Northeast, particularly in Borno State, is part of the insurgents' renewed effort to destabilize the Sahel states of Nigeria, Mali, Burkina Faso, and also Niger Republic. He, however, said that the federal government is dealing with the challenge, adding that the Nigerian armed forces have gained momentum in recent weeks, eliminating a good number of insurgents. He says, and I quote, "If you're following what is happening in Niger, Burkina Faso, and Mali, you will see that these attacks have heightened everywhere. There's a renewed vigor by the insurgents to destabilize the Sahel, and we're doing a lot to curtail them, and we will fight it, and normalcy will return by the special grace of God and by your prayers," Daru says. So he thinks that this is more or less a spillover from what is happening in our neighboring countries, Mali, Niger, Burkina Faso, and what have you. So he thinks this is some sort of spillover, it has cascaded into Nigeria as well. And so states like Borno, or states in the Northeast, are now experiencing this shadow violence, if I'm able to call it that. Well, what are your thoughts about the concerns raised by the minister?
Sage, when the khaki boys, as we call them, the military guys were taking over.
What our business with Nigeria?
Burkina Faso. We told them that, look, there's no country that exists in isolation again. One trouble somewhere will lead to trouble everywhere. Especially when you are regional neighbors like Niger, Burkina Faso, Mali. Because again, there's also what you call shared intelligence, amongst nations when it comes to the issue of security. And so we have said that, look, yes, you might have a situation where there will be sanctions on some of these countries because, again, they are tampered with democratic institutions in their state by taking over the reign of leadership. But we have to be careful to discontinue conversations and communication with them when it comes to the issue of insurgency and insecurity from the Maghreb region. And that's what the Minister of Defense is saying, basically, that, look, it's a spillover. I had said that, look, one of the fears I had, and I will continue to have, with what these guys are doing, the military guys are doing in the Maghreb region, especially not just taking over the reins of leadership, but telling France to lead, is that they might not be able to deal with insurgency in their different countries. They don't have what it takes. I know what I'm saying. And we can see, forget about all the propaganda of Traoré in Burkina Faso. As we speak, serious information shows that, look, a larger part of Burkina Faso now is occupied by these insurgents. They really cannot be able to do anything about it. Again, if you know the story of Burkina Faso, Mali, Niger, what has always helped them against the insurgents has always been the area power and the support that France has always given, to push back the insurgents who are coming all the way from deep down the Sahara Desert down to the Maghreb areas or down to north part of North Africa.
France have pulled out from Niger anyway, sir.
No, that's what I'm saying, that they've also pulled out of, Mali. I don't think they also in Burkina Faso. So the fear is that, look, if the insurgents get so much entrenched in these countries, Nigeria will also be in trouble. In fact, Nigeria will probably be the destination point for them as they come. And we're already seeing
Langley wonders. It was Langley, yes, last week that told us that they're trying to infiltrate our borders.
So that they have access to our coastal line.
Yes, for arms and smuggling and kidnapping and other organized crime. Yeah.
And in one of the papers today, they also mentioned another terrorist group operating in part of Kwara State.
Or something, Makubwa, what they even call them?
In Kwara State.
Yeah.
And when it was reported as a new terrorist group, the army chief said, no, they are not new. We know them.
Mahmoud.
So just the way we talked about Lakurawa or Lukarawa in Sokoto, there's also a group. In fact, the unfortunate report in the paper today is that they beheaded about 3 villagers just yesterday.
Yes.
In Kwara State, in parts of Kwara State. So that's why I've always said that, look, this issue of insecurity should not be anything political. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu should please. See, we can play politics every other thing. Unemployment, inflation, subsidy, let us continue to play our politics with it. We can fight over that, disagree or agree over the numbers. But when it comes to the issue of insecurity, can we get very serious about it, take away political interest from it, let's face it squarely, because the lives of the people matter at the end of the day, if you understand what I'm saying. And that's why I would say it's a key. We should get somebody who is not going to be focused on politics, but on serious job of ensuring that it's able to coordinate our security apparatus to fight these guys at NSA.
You're talking about the NSA, yes?
Yeah, we always talk about.
I mean, he was in the police force, yes?
And you know, answer.
I mean, he should have.
There's always been a question mark on his appointment as a former police officer.
Policeman and the khaki
guys.
There's always that tussle, that power tussle that has existed between the two sister agencies. But
the president should please help us get everybody on board to ensure that, look, we push back these insurgents, chase them away from the country.
We really need to get on it. Although the cause varies from region to region, but insecurity is insecurity at the end of the day. The result is usually the same. People dying, people displaced, women raped, children recruited, and people filling the IDP camps. It doesn't matter the kind of insecurity it is. We're moving forward. We have here NCC asks banks to deduct USSD transaction fee from users' airtime. There's a follow-up story to that, but let's start from the beginning, yes? The Nigerian Communications Commission has directed deposit money banks to start deducting charges for unstructured supplementary service data transaction, that's USSD, directly from the user's mobile data. Now, according to an email from banks to customers on Tuesday, the charges will no longer be deducted from the customer's bank account. It will be deducted from their airtime, and this is supposed to take effect Tuesday, June 3rd. That is yesterday. But as I said, there's a follow-up. The Vanguard newspaper is reporting that Alton, the Association of Telecom Operators of Nigeria, is saying that this is a gross misinformation from the banks. I need you to understand that the banks are owing the telcos, and this directive was supposed to help such that the telcos just get their money from airtime instead of taking it from the bank account. So they take it from your airtime. I think for 120 seconds that's about 6 naira or thereabouts. But then
for those using USSD.
For those using USSD, because a lot of people use internet banking anyways. But Alton is saying that, first of all, it was not like a directive from the NCC. They were not just telling people what to do. It was the NCC and the CBN that came to an agreement that once the banks are able to clear the backlog of their loans, then people would now be offered the opportunity to choose how they want to pay these levies. Do you want us to deduct it from your bank account, or do you want us to deduct it from your airtime? So if the bank is deducting it, obviously it's the bank that would have the money and remit to telcos. Yes, but if you want to use from the airtime, the telecoms would, I say telcos, the telecoms rather, they would just take their money point blank. And so Alton is saying the banks are causing confusion. They need to clear the backlog of their loans, and this is because so people don't make mistakes and pay twice. So they accidentally pay to the bank and then also accidentally pay to the telecom operators. So these are the two stories that we've gotten so far. But what are your thoughts generally about the idea of maybe they should just deduct their money from the airtime, and this situation of banks owing the telecoms will just come to an end? It's a lot of money actually.
Is it not ironical
that
to see that our banks are not creditworthy?
Right, you're holding people's millions of naira. You cannot pay your own money.
And then you let people collect money. Remit has become a problem. Is it not ironical that our banks, that are also supposed to ensure that people who collect money from them pay back those loans, are the ones that the telcos are dragging? You ever collect money? Remit now, and they are using corner to maybe deflect. And the guy is saying you can't jump the gun. First, you have basic. I think about 160 billion is still being owed, right?
Yes.
From the reports I got, so
250
and I like the idea. Sorry?
250 billion.
So I thought they paid a part of it. I don't know. one of the reports was
The
saying that
report
the
says
states are part of
it's still long-standing to 50 billion.
but what we are saying, I like the option of if you want to use USSD, they now give you deduct it from your account or from your airtime, so you can choose.
Yes.
Whichever way to pay. Because sometimes you might not have airtime really, but you have money in your bank. You understand?
Yes.
So I like the idea of having those two options. You know, so you can now be dependent on what they call is sad situation of banks helping to make some of this money. And the funny thing is that the banks should have deducted their own charges.
Yes, now it's straight away, like it's straight up.
And so the remaining one remit to people who owns the money. You cannot do. Banks so that are supposed to be creditworthy, that are supposed to be run with so much level of integrity. Integrity, like we can say. No integrity.
FCT minister, you're rude for it.
No, that's really because you know, like when Soludo called Apuga.
You and Barrister Curtis, if they catch you, please go ahead. Round off your thoughts, Fuad, on that story.
That's just it, really. Yeah. Let the banks just pay up and let's give those options two options, not just still. But again, like I told you, that people sometimes there's no airtime. They have money in their bank, they want to send money. So it just makes it easy.
All right. Well, let's talk a little bit of politics. Still looking at the Punch, as we said, the front pages were pretty much bought out, so we're picking center page stories for you. We have APC denies granting automatic tickets to National Assembly members. Now, the All Progressive Congress have denied widespread reports suggesting that it has granted automatic tickets to all current members of the National Assembly, labeling the information as fake news. In a statement released on Tuesday by the party's National Publicity Secretary, Felix Morka, the APC urged party members and the public to disregard what it described as a purported breaking news report falsely attributed to the party. The report is fake and should be disregarded in its entirety. It did not emanate from our great party, Morka said. He further warned that the viral claim is of mischievous origin and is intended to mislead the public and disrupt internal party processes. The clarification came amid growing speculations over the party's internal nomination strategy ahead of the next election cycle. So, Fuad, the report is the question. APC has said that they did not grant automatic tickets to National Assembly members. This is when rumors had there had been rumors and speculations that automatic ticket had been given to members of the National Assembly. And you can understand why there's agitation. There's still this notion that is circulating that the National Assembly has become something of a retirement ground for old governors or previous governors and other members of government who are finding a place to stay permanently since there's no expiration on senatorship, so to speak. So what are your thoughts? First of all, if they truly did this, if being the operative word here, is there something in the law that is outrightly against granting automatic tickets, since it's an internal party thing? Does the law say anything about this? Are they doing anything wrong, or is just the morality of it that is causing them to come and explain?
Well, there's nothing wrong if a party decides that, look, they'll be giving automatic tickets. There's nothing in the law. It's a party affair, so they can take their decision. Same way they can decide that, look, we're going to do consensus, we're not going to do any primaries. If you understand. The only thing is that, look, if there are members who think that they should be given a fair opportunity to contest, the party should also open up the platform for people to run. You remember that even President Bola, and that's one thing about politicians, especially all these party members. In a situation, they will stand here. But in another situation, they say something else. Right. Remember that one of the things President Bola Ahmed Tinubu said in the build-up to the 2023 presidential primaries of the APC was that, look, let us be given a fair opportunity to contest. Mama Loli, you remember? If you remember, the idea there was that, maybe President Buhari had somebody in mind. That, at some point, even President Buhari was saying, you guys are always allow you governors, to choose your successor. Yeah. Let me also choose this one. You remember that those were the conversations then. And it was already flying around that, hello, Sage.
I'm with you, Fuad.
Yeah, that, maybe President Buhari already had somebody in mind, so, but remember that at some point, President Tinubu said, no, for the sake of transparency, fairness, equity, justice within this political party, the APC. Let us all go to the field. And he said, "It's about no me, my lonely." See the same party members who will tell you, "Oh, it's consensus. Oh, it's consensus. There's nothing wrong with it." But if you can give the president the opportunity then to contest and make it fair for everybody to run in the primary, why not do the same at all levels? So why are we already having that projection within the APC that, oh, some people are going to get automatic tickets? Where is the fairness in that one? But again, because I'm not a member of the actual challenges that the APC will face ahead of 2027, will be how to handle these people who are defecting to the party. What were they promised that is making them jump ship like this? And then for those who are in the party too, some of them have been working for the party. They are hoping that one day it will also be a milocon for them. It will be their turn. Sure, you understand? Hello, say.
I'm with you, Fuad.
So how to match those interests? How to, and the fear is this: our politicians are not too disciplined again to be allowed to all go into a contest. They will never resolve the issue.
And the
litigations upon litigations will happen.
Court says that it's parties that should go and settle their internal problems.
I know when it comes to leadership issues, but when it comes to nomination of candidates, the courts can always make pronouncements on it. So if you have old primaries, for example, and there are issues and people decide to go to court, you may begin to have too many court cases, and then you have court verdicts, court judgments deciding who eventually is the candidate of the party.
Right.
So, but the APC, I'm sure, has a structure. Mine tells me they have a structure to deal with the trouble that would eventually
even happen in October. Just talking that if it is the truth, what would the scenario look like? We just played out the scenario.
But they've given automatic ticket to the president for second time. Have you?
Well, is Godswill Akpabio that said it? He might be speaking on behalf of everyone.
But all the party members were there, and
the words came out of his mouth. If it was if it was a consensus, they should come and tell us.
He moved the motion, and all the party members say, unless they are not all the party members.
Abby, they will not let them do another voice vote for us. Let's see how if truly.
Oh my goodness!
Then, well, the law doesn't say.
It's interesting to see what happens eventually.
All right. Well, let's move to The Guardian. We have poll rates Tinubu government high as opposition critics disagree. Experts carpet administration performance, claim zero relief for Nigerians. Many will doubt the NOI polls. Precisely, Tinubu's approval rating has been on gradual rise since the start of this year. It rose from a very low 11% in February 2024 and hovered around less than 20% all through 2024 until this year, where it went up to 40% as of March. But we have analysts who are disagreeing with this approval rating, or should I say this rating of 40% performance of the president for this time of year. We have an expert who's first of all talking about the statistics reeled out by the MBS regarding unemployment. He says that a large percentage of the work is also conversation around the petrol subsidy and its ineffectiveness in the day-to-day or quality of life of the average Nigerian. They're also talking about investment as well. That investment has not exactly been perfect, and that even 40% as a rating is nothing to celebrate. These are the opinions, to summarize the opinions of some of the analysts who have spoken about this performance rating. So Fuad, 40 over 100 is the NOI rating for the president's performance for March of this year. What are your thoughts?
Well, even in the West, when you have 40, that's part of it. They peak.
Yes.
Those days, they let my people go. I mean,
yes.
Get 40, they just peak. It's different. But again, on a more serious note, I think people should do their individual. It's fine that we never. I think the NOI is the WဃSOᴛsAᴘᴘ polls. I think he has an agency that does this, and that's why it's called the NOI poll. I need to confirm that. But what the polling is saying that, look, the approval ratings of the president has improved significantly. The polls are saying that, look, there seems to be more communication on the part of the president and his team on his policies and its effects. Those who disagree are saying that, look, the polls cannot be accurate. Again, in polling, you also have to look at the population sample and the sample size.
Demographic and sample size, the
demographics too,
the social classification as well.
Exactly. A lot of things come into you believing that a poll could accurately be telling the story, the true story of what it is when it comes to things like this. So, because you don't have that complete details, don't have the data, I think that we'll just leave it as it is. They said it's 40%. For those who agree, fine. For those who disagree, but I think that individuals may just do their own polling ratings, approval ratings of the president.
Right. Imagine doing a poll with people in Victoria Island. Obviously, their life is good. They're going to tell you everything is fine. So,
some of them, okay, look, let's for example, look at what happened during the last election. You saw that in the urban areas, the APC was in battle.
Well, that's true. That's true. They didn't do very well.
You saw that in those areas,
in the rural, that did well.
Meanwhile, in Ikorodu and other areas, you have a better performance. So,
well, sure,
nothing is too sure about these things.
Exactly.
But it is what it is. Polls are not completely reflective of the realities of people.
Well, we're leaving the studio now. We have less than 60 seconds. I just want to announce that President Tinubu has awarded American philanthropist and Microsoft co-founder Bill Gates the national honor of Commander of the Order of the Federal Republic in recognition of his contributions to health, education, and poverty alleviation, particularly in Nigeria and across Africa. Bill Gates have been going around a lot, especially to African countries. He's giving out in trying to, I don't know why he has intensified his philanthropic effort this much, but I mean, I'm just saying, Fuad, it's been his money, and I'm just wondering, I mean, he gives out money, but just choosing to dump
shouldn't we take a good example from that? A man who not even somebody in government, a businessman who has a lot of money, and he's helping people in different parts of the world.
Yeah, he's been going around.
Other than people that go and build 753 houses.
Let's go on. We'll come back. It'll be time for Mainland Focus so that we can allow you an opportunity to speak on these issues as well. I'm Sage Babalola. Fuad, be on standby. We'll be right back.
You plugged in to Talking Watts, your number one source for the stories, innovations, and big ideas powering Nigeria's energy future on Mainland 98.3 FM every Thursday from 3:45 p.m. to 4 p.m. And now, with the voices at the heart of the conversation, a visionary in the renewable energy space, and the CEO of Rᴇᴜ Energies, Olarewaju Ogunkule, and his co-host, Ezine Nwagu, a dynamic communications professional. Every week, you will get insight